This is EDN329, Assessment 2, Part B presentation by Jordan Wright, student number 33186461. Now the rationale for this mathematics program, I'm having the setting is in a remote Aboriginal community in the Kimberley region of WA. There's 3 students, Jack, John and Jill, and they're in Year 2. All students are ESL and speak a standard Australian English as the second or third language. All of them are at a similar mathematical level in the number sense area, and they are all suspected of having FASD and or experienced trauma in their childhood. All students have hearing disabilities, some more extreme than others. Jack was diagnosed with Global Development Disorder, or GDD, and is currently in the process of being diagnosed with a learning disability. John has missed the past 3 years of school but is quick to grasp mathematical concepts but is extremely weak in his literacy abilities. Jill has been diagnosed with a learning disability and finds it hard to retain information. There is a need to create a program that caters to these 3 students' needs in order to develop their understandings in number sense. The program will focus on number recognition, subitizing, matching numbers to collections, and finally sequencing numbers and collections. The program will consist of 10 lessons run over 2 weeks, in which the students will work with an EA or AIEO to complete the given tasks. The learning outcomes. As these students are so far behind from their peers, they will be working towards a pre-primary content level, these being connect number names, numerals, quantities, including 0 initially up to 10 and then beyond, subitize small collections of objects, establish understanding of the language and processes by counting by names, naming numbers in sequences, initially to and from 20, moving from any starting point. Now the specific outcomes. So I'm going to have them count correctly in sequence from 1 to 10, starting at any point, subitize small collections of objects up to 10, connect the number names to their numerals and beyond once they've mastered 1 to 10, and connect number names to quantities from 1 to 10 and beyond once they've mastered 1 to 10. The strategies I'm going to implement, so knowledge of the students and the amount of assistance each child needs, working in smaller groups and having a more one-on-one environment, using peer-assisted work by working in small groups that can bounce ideas and answers off each other, lots of visual concrete materials to work with, repeated instructions and ones that are slowly and ensuring that they have their eyes on you so they can see when you are talking, using a red cat system, which is a microphone speaker system used in classrooms to assist with having uniform sound throughout the room for children with hearing disabilities, using common consistent vocabulary with gestures as visual prompts, as students may not know what more complex vocabulary means. Incorporating Australian Aboriginal English into instructions so that it is more likely for it to be comprehended. Utilising Australian Aboriginal educational officers to help with translating to stop misconceptions forming due to a language barrier. Smaller lesson lengths so that students are able to focus as they may not have been used to being in a school environment. Consistent praise to keep students motivated. Targeting work so that it is at an appropriate level for each student. If one student masters 1 to 10 before the others, that student can be extended. Mathematical language, so we're going to be using number names, number numerals, collections, and identifying how many objects and units are in a collection. The resources that I will need will be the Red Cat system, the flashcard games, collections of counters and objects for students to count and subitize, containers for putting over collections, number lines to help with counting on, and the assessment and evaluation. So I'm going to be using a diagnostic assessment, which will be the Progressive Achievement Tests in Mathematics, or PATM, and this test will be used to assess levels in all students across the board. The students that are in this program have been targeted to performing at a much lower level than their peers. This assessment's results will provide the data to show this. Formal assessment will be anecdotal notes, which will just be taken throughout the lessons, and summative assessment will be at the end, which will just have them read numbers from paper and identify which collections match the numbers. Now the lessons. So from lessons 1 to 3, we'll be starting with numbers 1 to 10 on cards with numerals, and the students will have to identify the number and try and count on if they can. As we get further into the lessons, we'll be adding 1 to 10 cards 1 to 10 with the collections on their cards, and then adding one to, like on top of the numbers, and then adding 1 to 10 without numbers to match. Lesson 4 will be playing Snap, so they have to identify the same. Lesson 5 will be a formative assessment. Lesson 6 will be matching 4 different collections made up of different objects to the correct number. So they'll have, for example, the number 10, they'll need to match 10 bears, 10 counters, 10 toothpicks, and 10 bean bags. Lesson 7 will move on from 11 to 20, as hopefully they'll be up to there by that point. So basically just restarting the same 1 to 3 again, but including 11 to 20. Lesson 8 will be building and adding the collections for 11 to 20 into the deck of cards. And then Lesson 9 will be, we're going to be doing a more kinesthetic movement, so we'll be hopping from numbers 1 to 20 on different markers and counting as they go. And then finally putting the correct collection on each number. Lesson 10 will be a summative assessment and having each student individually demonstrate where they are at or haven't learnt so that we can determine the next lessons for the students. Thank you very much.